Hey D, is that little red camera thing in the... Okay, so we're recording.
All right, everybody. We want to welcome you to the first, hopefully annual Conversation with Legends, we're calling it, here at Walker Days. We thought it would be kind of interesting to get some of these guys who've hunted and bred treeing walkers for decades, get them up here and kind of like you would do after a hunt, just sit around on the tailgate and talk about coon dogs, hunting, dogs you've raised and bred and hunted over the years. But do it with an audience like you all. We think it would go very well. We've got her planned out and ready to roll. Alan Gingrich is going to be our moderator today. And for the folks confirming entries over here on the side, if you can try to keep the, I know it's going to be tough, but try to keep the volume down a little bit, that'd help a lot. So thanks again, everybody. We'll hand it off to Alan Gingrich from UKC.
Alrighty, I'd like to welcome each one of you guys. I know as a young man, you read and hear about some of these legends, and got John Monroe from Glenwood, Missouri here, Lee Logan from Beaver, Pennsylvania, and Russ Bellar of Peru, Indiana. And I can tell you it's an honor for me to sit here and have this conversation with you guys. Obviously some big name dogs in the sport. Today we're going to talk about some of John Monroe's dogs he had over the years. Finley River Chief. He was the sire of Spring Creek CB. He's also the sire of Finley River Spot and Finley River Dan. Had another dog named Beaver Lake Lightning. Monroe's Finley River Joe, who was the 1974 Walker Days champion. At Finley River Spot, he was the son of Finley River Chief, and he was also the 1965 ACHA World Champion. Monroe's Little Chief, Kentucky River Chief, Finley River Pete, Finley River Bell, Buck Creek Ike. These are just some of the hounds that John has owned throughout the years. Some of Lee's dogs, we're going to talk about Logan's Wild Julie, Logan's Wild Clover, who was the son of Owen's Hardwood Bozo. He's also the sire of the 1990 UKC World Champion, Tony's Wild Joey. That's owned by Tony and Joey Davidic. He's also the sire of Wessel's Wild Casey. Logan's Wild Genie is another one that Lee had, was the mother of World Champion Joey. Logan's Wild Joe, Wild Jody, Wild Quick, and Wild Quick Tree are just some of the dogs that Lee's had a lot of success with. Some of Russ's dogs that he's had throughout the years. Bellar's Indiana Shep, Moffitt's WC Demon. He was the 1980 and 1981 PKC World Champion. Bellar's Striker, who was the 1982 ACHA World Champion. He also had World Champion, Grand Night Champion Bellar's Pac-Man, who was the 1986 World Champion. Easygoing Eileen was the 1980 ACHA World Champion. Awesome Annie was the 1993 PKC World Champion. Had Bellar's Psycho, Bellar's Ann, What's Up Doc, Boggy Bottom Bonnie, Bellar's Sodbuster, list goes on. Bellar's Ajax, who was the 2001 Extravaganza winner here at Walker Days. Bellar's Special K won it the next year in 2002. Bellar's Janice Joplin was the 2007 World Champion. Miami River Big D was the 2009 World Champion. Then he also had a couple off-breed dogs. A little dog named Get Ahead Little Red was a little red bone. Back in the day, he also hunted some black and tans, namely one named Bear. But so those are some of the dogs these guys have owned. We're going to talk about some of those. So again, appreciate you guys doing that. My first question is going to be to John Monroe, and actually for each one of you. Kind of like to know where you all grew up at and how you got started coon hunting with treeing walkers. Starting with you, John.
I started coon hunting in 52 with a blue tick. My dad came home and had a little blue tick female. He'd give $25 for it. We thought we'd go with him and go hunting. And she was a pretty good little dog. We run into some other guys out hunting one night, and they said, you want to sell that little blue tick? And my dad said, take a lot of money to buy that dog. Really? Well, we run into him down the creek away, and he wanted to buy a blue tick. Dad said, well, I'll sell it, but take a lot of money. How much you want? So I got to have $100. That was my first coon dog right there. Well, we sold her, and then he bought another couple of dogs. We really fell into that coon hunt, my brother and I. So that was the last year that my dad hunted. He said, you guys want to hunt, you're on your own. So we bought and sold dogs, finally got something with Tree Coon, and in 1965, I made up my mind, I'm going to Walker Days. Big advertising, that was a big deal. So I come out here and hunted in a great hunt, and won 10th place with a little old female I had, and that kind of gave me the bug. And run into Dwayne Clark. He said, if you want to buy a good dog, I know where it's good. He said, buy old Finn River Spot. So after a while, meeting and calling and talking, I ended up buying Finn River Spot, and that was in June 1965. Well, the World Hunt was in October, and my brother and I hunted that dog every night for six nights a week anyway. And the hunt was come up at Lee Summit, Missouri. We was working on a hospital job. We told we were going to take a few days off, go down that World Hunt. And they said, well, you ain't going to win that hunt. You know how it is. So we went down there, and they had 237 dogs at that hunt, and I won that, and got to thinking about it. I wanted to get into breeding them dogs. We had a breeding issue with spot dogs, another issue, but anyway, in November, we decided we needed the dad to that dog. The dad to him was in Romulus, Michigan. John Guilford owned him. The dog was coming 8 years old, and ended up buying the dog, the old Finn River Chief. And everybody said, why would you give $3,000 for a dog coming 8 years old? Well, I could have bought 2 new pickup trucks for that in 1965, 66. So that's where I started in with Old Chief. And I think God was looking out for me, because he did me good, and they had pups all over the country, and people was coming to breed to him. And then the Smoky dog, Dwayne Clark's won the World Hunt the next year. He was a grandson. And then, of course, Gaines Finisher, he won. Buck Creek, Bean Blossom Buck, just a bunch of them dogs right there within 4 or 5 years win that ACHA World Hunt, and he just took off. And well, you know what it's like today. Most of these guys enter the dog. He looks back in them far enough, there'll be Finn River Chief in their pedigree. Very few of them that won't.
Yeah, we'll get into a little bit more of that here in a little bit. We'll pass the mic on down to Lee. Same question, Lee. Where did you grow up, and how did you get started with spring walkers?
Well, I grew up in Beaver, Pennsylvania. Parents lived there, grandparents lived there. I started off with a Redbone, traded 2 good Beagle pups for them. They were good rabbit dogs for their age. Took him to the woods, didn't know much about hunting, had a 2-cell flashlight. Got my dad out of bed and said, what's he supposed to do? He said, well, he'll stop when he gets to a coon. And Dad went to bed. I listened to him for another half hour, got Dad out of bed, and he came down. And he said, Lee, he said, that dog's running rabbit, and he's not a very good rabbit dog. So I turned around and traded my red bone back for the two beagles, and it was later on I got started, and I ended up buying the old Wild Goose dog down in West Virginia. His house was at cardboard TV box turned up down on a hillside, and bought him, and it just kind of went on from there.
Russ, where did you call home as a young man?
Tennessee. I grew up in the hills there and started coon hunting probably when I was 10. Neighbors sold me a half blue tick, half black tan, and about a quarter cur. And didn't have enough money to pay for it, had to work it out. We were so poor, didn't have enough dog food to feed it, and couldn't buy no dog food. So I was scared to bring him home, didn't have enough scraps to feed him. And that was rough times back then. I hunted that dog there for about a year. I won the Tennessee State hunt with him. I think I was 11 years old in the great hunt. And that same night, I got him killed by a car running across the road. That's the only second dog I've ever had killed hunting at nighttime. Hunting myself, and then I come from there to Indiana, and I've been here for 53, 54 years, and all I've done is coon hunting.
I got you. The next question is going to be for all three of you again. We'll just stay with you, Russ. Describe what you look for, what you prefer in a coon dog, and is there any one particular trait that you look for more than others, or is that you absolutely must have in a coon hound?
When I look at a dog, he's got to have some brains. I mean, he's got to count those coons that's in the woods. I mean, Petree's one, there's another one. He's got to 30 loose. He's got to go tree that one. He's got to have a nose and run that track. I mean, he's got to have a nose for me. He can't go in the woods and tree every third tree in the woods and burn out 2 or 3 lights of looking. They got to have the coon up.
All right, same question for you, Lee.
Well, I agree with him 100%. You got to have some brains. I got to like them. They got to run a track, and they got to tree and stay treed. If I climb a mountain and the dog leaves or doesn't have the coon, I'm not a very happy coon hunter. So that's kind of what I look for.
Well, you know, especially the guys that've got some age on them in here, hunted back in the 60s, 50s and 60s. Most of the walker dogs, they didn't have a reputation of being tree dogs. They were more or less dogs that were cold-nosed dogs, and they might bark 40 or 50 barks on a minute. But today, it's a whole different picture. People are more interested in dogs that loudmouth dogs, go through the country with their heads up. They're looking for a tree. I don't think that they're near as accurate a tree dogs as they was 50 years ago. I mean, when I was the age of most of these young fellows in here and hunting those Fenner River dogs back in the 60s and 70s, we never thought about going to a slick tree. It never come to our mind. But now, and I think they'll agree, these guys, these young guys going through them woods and them trees are going to say, God, I hope they got him. We never even thought about that 40, 50 years ago. I'll agree that the dogs today are probably faster, but I like a dog that when you cut him loose, you don't hear a bunch of babbling and don't open his mouth till he smells the coon, can work a bad track, and when he trees, you gotta have the coon. Where I live, I'm in the hills and gullies, and I can't walk to a slick tree and be happy with it. I enjoy hunting. I hunt by myself 90% of the time, and when I go to that tree, I want to see a coon. And I won't put up with a mean dog, because they got to stay on them trees. Fenner River Joe was probably the best dog I ever owned for what I wanted. And he would leave a tree if a dog jumped on him. I said, I wouldn't have that dog. He ain't going to stand up and fight. That's not, there's two different classes of types of hunting. One is competition, and one's out there for pleasure. Well, at my age, I'm more interested in the pleasure right now. A lot of these guys will be when they get my age, but I can't handle them mean dogs. We go to them trees. I had, last time I was in the night, and I think dogs was treating it. The guy's dog come into the tree, and he started wailing on him. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "He ain't got no business being here." I looked at him and I said, "Is that right?" When we hunted them dogs, if we hunted 4 dogs, special pleasure hunting, we'd go at the tree, there would be 4 dogs there, and that's what you call pleasure hunting. Competition, they don't want them together, so I got to have a good track dog. They don't have to have a big loud mouth. One that's pleasurable to listen to, and have the coon when you get to them. Thank you.
All right, John, we're going to stay with you here. You're obviously best known for owning the Findlay River Chief dog and starting that Findlay River line of hounds. And you already talked a little bit about how you came to own Findlay River Chief. But my next question to you is, describe Chief in the woods.
Chief had an extremely cold nose. He could pick up a track and run it, but a lot of dogs never hold it. And really, I want to make one thing clear. I didn't start these dogs. John Shetler and Glenn Becker. John was from Sugar Creek, Ohio. Glenn Becker was from Corning, Iowa. In 1957, Glenn Becker drove to John Shetler from Sugar Creek and bred Becker Supreme Sally to Shetler Sonny Boy. Those were the men that really started this. I was, with the fate of God, lucky enough to get into him the way I did, buying Spot, and then going and buying his dad,